Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another day of Mixed Media Mayhem. Today we are using an inspiration piece from the Ranger Ink website. I apologize, I don't know who the actual artist is, but it is branded with the Ranger Ink logo. So I'm using some Dylusions Paint in Blue Hawaiian and Periwinkle Blue. I'm also using Balmy Night, London Blue, and After Midnight. So several different shades of blue, and then I'm also going to pull in some Slate Grey, and I will be using some black gesso from Brutus Monroe. And I am not actually working on this at home. I am at a crop while I'm working at this. I'm actually at a retreat, and so most of those colors that were in the bottles, actually all of those colors are borrowed. I actually don't have any of the bottles. I have the little pot like you just saw me pull that After Midnight from, and my friend Janie has a combination of the bottles and the pots. So the little pots that have the screw top are old, and they don't make those anymore. They all come in those little squeeze bottles now, and that works fine. And I decided to use a credit card to go ahead and apply it because that is what I had on hand. And I also didn't want to have brush strokes. In fact, it looks like the original piece is put on with a credit card or something to that effect. And I'm doing a double page layout, as you probably have already noticed. I'm just making sure I get multiple lines of each color on each page so that I carry the entire inspiration across. And I do want some depth to the color, so I am bringing in those darker colors. And then the black gesso is definitely going to help with that as well. It is going to darken everything up because it's super busy as it is. And I'm not being super conscientious about where I'm putting them, other than that I want them kind of spread out. And it's going to look like a hot mess for a bit here, you guys. But at the end of the day, it all looks okay. It looks good in my opinion. So I'm just cleaning off my fingers there because we all know how much I just love messy hands. But I am also going to go over it with a little bit of dry brushing that black gesso on, just so I get some streaky areas. And that is very similar to what the original piece has in it. It has some parts that look like they've got some dry brushed on black. And then I am using one of my favorite stencils. It is from the Crafters Workshop, and I believe it's called Mini Grid or something to that effect. I'll put the link down below for it. It's a little bit more difficult to find this one, but it is one of my favorites. I'm actually borrowing it from Janie. I have the exact same one at home, but I didn't take most of my mixed media with me when I went to this retreat. I had a lot of other things I needed to work on, and so I just borrowed when I finally got to this layout that I needed to work on. And I'm just basically using that Slate Grey, and I am pouncing my paintbrush through the grid. I don't want super blotchy marks. I just want it to kind of barely show. And I'm getting really good results by just tapping down on the paintbrush rather than kind of brushing it in. I feel like if I were to brush it in, it would kind of smush it underneath those grid lines, and I definitely don't want that to happen. And I'm also kind of just making sure I have those grid lines kind of in a random pattern. I already know where my photos are going to go. You saw that at the beginning, but so I know I don't need to put some right in the center because that's all going to get covered up anyway, but I do want to have these grid lines kind of showing around the edges here and there. And I'm thinking it's looking pretty good so far, so I'm happy with the result there. I am going to also add some stamping, and I'm going to use a stamp from Stampin' Up, I believe, and I don't have the name of it in front of me, but again, I'll put the name of it down below. But it's an older stamp set, so I'm not sure if you can get it. And I am just tapping it into some solid black or jet black ink. This is not archival. It again is something that I borrowed from a different friend. Her name is Lynn. So thank you. Shout out to Janie and Lynn for letting me borrow your stuff. And it is basically a waterproof. It is the Lawn Fawn black ink. So if you put water on it or other mixed media over the top of it, it's not going to run. That was my main goal. I didn't care. I just needed black that wasn't going to run. So it didn't have to be archival, just something that was not activated by water. So then I got back home and I decided to cut out this word Banquet on my silhouette. And I'm just using a really big, bold font. And I have this acrylic piece that says All-Star. Now, this acrylic piece comes out of the baseball set, the baseball title set from MK's store, Some Assemblage Required. You can kind of see the baseballs and the bats peeking out in the corner, upper right-hand corner there behind the inspiration piece. I am just using the words All-Star. I'm not using the baseball or the bats because this event is an All-Star banquet for 4-H. So the way 4-H is run is each year there are a set of all-stars. They represent the county as a whole, and it is an application process you have to go through. You have to have some letters of recommendation. You have to do a panel interview to get this position, and then you and whoever else is considered an all-star at the end of the day are responsible for running all of the county-wide events like the county leadership overnight conference, various dances. There's always a community service element and several other events throughout the year. So my daughter applied for it. That is her on the left-hand page. She is reading her All-Star speech, and this is the banquet where the prior year's All-Stars hand over the reins to the new All-Stars. So the cake actually does say, "Congratulations, All-Stars." And surprisingly, everything was done in blue. I'm not sure why they chose blue. Usually most things in 4-H are green, but there's only one boy in these photos that has a green tie on. The 3 All-Stars from the prior year have red shirts, so that is why I chose to make my clovers red. You saw me try using some green ink there, and I wasn't really happy with the way that it looked. There's just not enough green in the photos to pull it, but most of the photos have like a blue hue. There's a lot of blue going on in varying shades between the cake, the balloons, the outfits that the boys are wearing that were the prior year. They were dressed as like 3 musketeers for a portion of it, and then so I just felt like blue would be better. And then the 3 boys that were from the prior year, they also have red shirts on for the other photos, and they are wearing the red shirts under those 3 musketeer type outfits. So I thought I would go ahead and use red, which I know is completely different. And what I'm doing is I'm inking these up with candied apple, and then I am just going around the outside with some Black Soot Distress ink to kind of make them pop and make them a little more bold on the page. And it is kind of weird using red clovers, but you know what? We're going to go with it. And at the end of the day, I do like the way that it all turns out. So, if it seems kind of weird in your mind, go with it. I cut these on my silhouette, and you can see I have quite a pile of them in the upper left-hand corner there. So I wasn't really super concerned about wasting 1 or 2 by trying it. And the backside of one of those is now green because I tested the green first. But you never know what the backside's going to look like once it's glued down. So it doesn't really matter, right? I'm going to go ahead and finish inking these up. I am going to ink up the word banquet with red ink as well, just to bring that color over to the opposite page. I did toy with having the word banquet in the upper right hand corner, but because the Q has that little piece that comes off of it, it just didn't line up as nicely. I know that's not a huge little dangly bit hanging off that Q, and it could have just rested across the photo there, but I liked the way it looked better below because I didn't have to deal with that little piece hanging off the Q, which is not really a descender by any standards here, but words, that letters that hang below the line sometimes can be difficult to use when they are used above other words. So I felt like I'll just use it down below. And then I didn't really want to go with a diagonal design, so I kept my clovers, my largest set of clovers, directly across from the word banquet. And then I will add another set above the photo of my daughter, and that is going to be my 3 different embellishment areas. I do end up liking the way that it looks. I am actually going to add some stuff in the upper right hand corner as well, at the top of the page, just to finish everything off. And I am using my liquid glue to make sure everything sticks, because we're working on top of mixed media here. I felt like that was the better choice. And then I'm taking the backer off of the acrylic so that I can go ahead and glue that down. And I'm going to leave this white. And I really chose that word banquet to be a big, bold font, because I want to layer up the words all-star, and it's going to cover up quite a bit of the word banquet, but you can still read it because it is such a big, bold word. So a little trick there is, if you have a word that, you know, you're going to layer underneath another word, make the one in the background be a big, bold font, and the other one to be a softer cursive style or script style font, so that you can still read the one underneath, even though you can't see all of the letters. So I'm liking the way that this is turning out. I like that I added that black ink, because the layers of the clovers are quite visible now. And then I went through my bin of blue items and some red items, as you see here, and I pulled out some things that I thought would work well for this particular layout. Now, I don't make you sit through looking at all of the items, but I ended up with some banner flags here from the blue and the red bin, and then some labels and such that I am tucking around the top of the first photo there with the cake in it, and then I will tuck some under the last photo on the right hand side. I did find that piece that says supper time, but the piece that was under it says love you to bits and pieces. I'm going to go ahead and use that. So it brings in that dark blue across that red. It kind of breaks it up a bit. I am also using some of the labels that were in the January embellishment box, or the ticket stubs there. And I like the way that that looks. Since I've got some gray on my background, it brings in a little bit more of the gray, a nice neutral color to kind of even things out a little bit. And while I do that, I want to remind you that this is a hop we do every month. Today is our hop that is open to anyone to play along. If you're not part of the Mixed Media Mayhem group, go and check out the Facebook group, and you will get the inspiration for the final Friday of the month well in advance, so that you can play along if you would like to. The other Fridays, it is just a smaller group of us, and we get our inspiration separately. So we don't have a lot of people playing along with that. It's just a small group. But the final week of the month, we invite everyone to play along. I will also put a link for that down below, as well as links to the other people who should be playing along. I don't know for sure that everyone has a video every week, but they are the people who have signed up to play along, so you can go and check them out. I am inking up all of these labels and such with black ink, just to kind of keep them somewhat uniform. And then I found these layered stickers with an X and an O. I thought I'd hang that right above where my daughter is. She's got a big blank space in that photograph anyway, and I thought it filled it in nicely. And I thought it also brought in the navy blue up there, and just kind of echoed that love you to bits and pieces saying, because it brings it into her photo. Not that I don't care about the other kids, but I don't love them to bits and pieces like I love my daughter. So I wanted to make sure that was on her page. Now, of course, these photos are all very old. They're from, I believe, 2010. And so all of these kids are all adults now and have moved on to greater things in life, I'm sure. I am just using my liquid glue to adhere down the title piece here, the acrylic title piece. I really like the way that that looks. And these banner pieces up in the upper right hand corner, I thought I would use some twine to kind of hang them from, but I don't end up adding the twine. I did try it, but the twine all disappeared because I have the banner pieces so close together. If I try to put it under them, you didn't see any of it except for like a little tiny piece that was coming out the end. But even that was like coming off of the page because of the angle that the banners were hanging at. So I just left them without any twine. They're just resting up there. You can imagine that there's some twine behind there, but there is in fact not. I didn't see the point in wasting the twine since it would be mostly hidden anyway. Now I'm just layering up a few little labels here. I will do my journaling on these labels, keeping it fairly simple. She knows what the event was about, but I will just write a few words about how the process was for her, and how proud we were of her for doing this, stepping out of her comfort zone. And when she did this, I think she was, let's see here, well, she was 14, just before her 15th birthday, if I remember correctly. So, going before a panel for an interview is not always an easy thing when you're a kid. It's not even easy as an adult. So putting in an application and doing all of that, having to write a little resume about yourself is a little bit daunting for many people, and to tackle it as a young teenager is something to be proud of. I am just finishing off my entire layout with a double sketchy red line around the outer edges of it, and I am using a red Muji pen to do that. And this works well for these types of layouts because mixed media is imperfect. I say that all the time, and my sketchy line is also imperfect. So there it is, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have questions or comments, please go ahead and leave those down below. I will get back to you as quickly as I can. It does sometimes take me a little while to respond, but I do read them all, and I respond to every single one of them. If you haven't already hit that thumbs up button, I would love for you to do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would also love for you to subscribe so that you get and hit the bell down below, and you'll get notifications every time I release a new video, which is quite frequently. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Oh, I did add some stars there because, it is an all-star banquet. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys again real soon. Bye-bye.